Bases dropped on a new round of SDH AM. John here, trying to still figure out the lighting for another 2 days. John, hear you there. Thanks for coming by. Let's see. How about that? Dark? Yeah, of course. Kind of dark. Maybe a little dark. A lot dark. Who knows? We'll figure it out. And we'll figure it out tomorrow, just in time to come back to Atlanta and hopefully dodge all of the ice and the rain. John, hear you there. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. Thursday Thoughts here on SDH AM. Here's the rundown for you. And it is taking the tour of the planet today. And we're going to have, obviously, in and around the world in 60 minutes with our friends Nino and Nico coming up in hour number 2. Nino Torres. And once again, I don't know what Nino Damas wants to talk about. But at the same time, I do know what he wants to talk about, considering what happened when Albacete knocked off Real Madrid, or as Jarrett and Nick and myself were trying to figure out, do we start to call them Real Madrid? It was kind of funny at the time. So we were like, yeah, that's pretty solid. So we're kind of going with Real Madrid until further notice. So they lose for the first time ever to Albacete. Albacete continues to advance in the tournament, and we will see what happens there. You have Chaos, Arbeloa. Who knows where Arbeloa's how do we phrase this? Who knows where Arbeloa's career dissipation light is? But not a good first step for him in the process with everything with Real Madrid. So I know he wants to talk about Xabi Alonso. That much I do know. So we'll talk about Xabi Alonso. Anything else that's going on in Nino's mind, that'll happen at 10 o'clock. Then there's a lot to get into in Major League Soccer. Training camp starting. We'll get into that with our buddy Niko Moreno. That's coming up, obviously, in the last half hour of the day. We'll get into that as well. Here in hour number 1, it's going to be time to play a little catch-up. We'll do a little bit more in-depth tomorrow, but I want to look at Atlanta United and training camp and all of that. So we're going to kind of get the 30,000-foot look from yesterday. It was Tata Martino and Chris Henderson, and it was an opportunity for them to look at philosophy and look at battles and then kind of let everybody know what to expect in training camp. And so we'll get into that a bit today, get into it more tomorrow as we get you ready for the weekend, and we'll get into that a bit today. We'll get into AFCON yesterday. We know what the final is going to look like on the weekend, and there were 2 key moments, one in each match yesterday. We'll let you know about those, and we'll preview what's going to happen in the AFCON final. Also, we've got some stuff out of the NWSL where the NWSLPA is still mad, and they've taken the next step. So we'll get into that about the NWSL getting hip. We've got that to look into. There is, let's see, what do I have on my list here? So we've got AFCON. We have MLS. We've got, obviously, news and notes and people moving and all those kinds of things. We've got Portugal that we can discuss with Nico, with Nino as well. And so there's a lot to get into in a bunch of different places this morning. So we'll get into that in hour number 1, set the table for going around the planet in hour number 2 here on SDH AM. So tomorrow, once again, reminder, 10 o'clock. Rob Smethurst is going to join us. The Smethursts are the majority owners of Macclesfield FC. That is going to be tomorrow at 10 o'clock. We're going to catch up with Rob, get the education about, did you really buy a club and not remember buying a club? We'll get into that. We'll get into Crystal Palace. We'll get into what it means for a Phoenix club. And what I mean by that is somewhere in the office, in Office HD, and I wish I had the opportunity to show, but I've got a Macclesfield Town scarf from when they went under, and I beat the deadline. So Macclesfield FC is now in the 6th tier. They knock off the defending champs in the FA Cup. And Rob Smethurst, the majority owner, is going to join us tomorrow morning, David, and we'll break down what this whole week has meant for a franchise that is a Phoenix club. So we'll get into that. We'll get into that tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Obviously, we'll set up your weekend, get you ready for everything, all the news, notes, transfers. We got transfer news, obviously, we've got to get into all of the reports, the gossip, all that stuff. We'll get into that once again here in hour number 1 to get you ready for hour number 2. All right. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Morning Espresso, your morning look at everything that sets the table here at SDH and SDH AM. And that is with Jason. Usually it goes about 15 to 20 minutes if you want to either watch the video version or if you want to listen to the podcast version. You can also get it in newsletter form. And we've started a relationship with Beehive. And so you can find out what's on Jason's mind as he starts the day. Morning Espresso, brought to us by our friends at Oglethorpe University. And we can't thank them enough for anything and everything that they are when it comes to the SDH network. And SDH, remember, this is it's our 10th season, which is crazy to think about, but this is our 10th season here at SDH. And so can't thank our friends at Oglethorpe University. And opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at the Morning Espresso with Jason. And you can go to soccerdownhere.net. You can subscribe to it there, or you can set your notifications to all of the SDH content, and you can either watch it or listen to it, what have you, on the network. Okay. So yesterday, and so that was opening kickoff, reminding you that Rob Smethurst is going to be here tomorrow with Macclesfield FC. So that's your opening kickoff this morning. Letting you know about the rest of the week. We're going to check in with our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring, see if they can join us as well. And so that'll set up the week for us here today and tomorrow. All right, yesterday, AFCON, we now know who is going to be in the final. And it was two key moments across the board, one in each match, that got us to this particular point this weekend where they're going to determine the champion of the CAF. And so it was white knuckle, absolutely just edge of your seat stuff yesterday in both of the matches. The first match, Senegal and Egypt, and it was goalless going into the final 15 minutes, back and forth in a bunch of different ways and a bunch of different points. And so you get to this moment in the 78th minute as Senegal and Egypt are goalless, but then they would not be goalless any further thanks to a bit of fortune that involved Sadio Mane. Here is that particular moment brought to us by our friends at BN Sports and the CAF.
Kamara. Ghana Gay has a look ahead, finds Mane in a bit of space. Little ball in for Jackson. Very quickly, the options of a square ball across the face of goal cut out by the Egyptian defense. Now another long-range effort. Kamara. Mane! Goal! Sadio Mane with a touch of fortune.
Touch of fortune, but at the same time, touch of class. If another player will have botched that ball all over the bar. But, you know, a quick control, the ball knocked off him, ball dropped in front of him perfectly well, and then he struck that ball. We call that grass cutter in Nigeria, and it bulged the net.
Well, it's as much as Senegal deserve. And Sadio Mane is the man who has put his team in the lead.
So Sadio Mane gets the goal, and that would end up being the only goal on the board. 1-0 your final, and that would mean that Senegal makes their way into the final. Who would they go and play? And the answer would be obviously from the late game. And the late game took even longer to get figured out with Morocco and Nigeria. 90 minutes didn't do it. 105 didn't give you a lead. 120 didn't give you a lead and a winner either. And so you end up with PKs in the second one between Nigeria and Morocco. And let's just say this. It was, how do we phrase? It was an adventure. It was an adventure in the first three rounds of the penalty kick shootout yesterday involving Nigeria and Morocco. And if I remember the statistic correctly, 5 of the first 6 shooters were substitutes. So you could tell it was a bit of an adventure. It was a 50-50 proposition, literally, to get you into the fourth frame. So then Hakimi scores in the fourth frame for the lead. Then you end up with a defining moment, I think, in the tournament. And it was in the bottom of the fourth, once again, courtesy of our friends at BN Sports and the CAF. Sometimes it's the guy between the sticks that comes up big.
The boos ring out. But like Onwachu. Oh, Bono with a save. One hand. How somehow finds a way to deny Chukwueze. He spread himself like a wall. And one hand, just one, in the way of that Chukwueze effort.
And I cannot remember, I legitimately cannot remember the last time I saw a save like that in any circumstance. I legitimately can't. So let me see if I can let me see if I can reconstruct it as best I can here. So traditionally, you know, when you're in that situation and you have a keeper going to his left, and I'm going to see if I can. I'm going to see if I can reconstruct this. And this is Yassine Bounou and Chukwueze. Yassine Bounou, Bono. It's Bono technically, but it's spelled Bounou. But so Yassine Bono is between the sticks for Morocco, and you end up with the shot. Bono goes to his left. So think of it as you're behind the goal itself, and you're looking out onto the field from the end zone over Bono's shoulder, and you're looking at the shooter, and you're looking at everything else from that end zone behind the Moroccan goal. So Bono goes to his left. Chukwueze ends up going down the middle with his shot. Bono has, and we've seen kick saves before where keepers go completely and totally long ways and they make a save like this. Bono, what he does, he's going to his left. And how he does this, I don't know. He basically slowed down his lunge to where he reaches out with his right arm, and his right arm is about dead center between the sticks, and hangs the right arm out to make the save on Chukwueze. Like I said, I cannot remember the last time I've seen a keeper go to his left and make a save with his right arm. That's what you had with Bono. Literally, it is going to his left, not completely diving, so that way he could come back and be he could try and do something, whether it's kick save or what have you. Bono goes to his left, and he sticks out his right hand, and his wrists and his right hand are strong enough to basically stop the ball that Chukwueze sends in. Two PK saves in the first 4 frames for Bono, and it eventually is Morocco booking their place in the AFCON final, once again denying Nigeria in the shootout, saving 2 kicks, keeping out Chukwueze and Bruno Onyemeki. And Nigeria keeper Stanley Wabali denied Igamane with his first shot. But once again, that was how crazy and chaotic those first 3 frames were. So, and Nesri steps up in the 5th to convert the penalty, and that would be the difference in that one. So you end up with Morocco making their way into the final, and it is Morocco working their way in. They're going to take on Senegal on the late game. And it is, what is the 18th? You know, people are having tried to sit there and tell me, it's like, okay, so the third place game is on the 17th, and the first place game, the championship, is on the 18th. So 17th would be Saturday. Saturday at 11 o'clock in the morning, it's Egypt and Nigeria. Nigeria favored at a plus 123. 90 minutes is a plus 208, and Egypt to win is a plus 244. Then on, let's see, so I feel like Keegan-Michael Key in Pitch Perfect too. Sunday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's your final for AFCON in 2026. Senegal and Morocco right now. And these odds have just completely and totally just shifted. Morocco now at a plus 127. 90-minute draws a plus 123. Senegal is a plus 245. So right now, third place game Saturday morning, and it is Nigeria favored at a plus 123. Egypt is a big underdog at a plus 244. And your final on Sunday afternoon, it is Morocco favored over Senegal at a plus 127. Basically double that for Senegal at a plus 245. So that's your AFCON rundown from what happened yesterday. It has been a fantastic tournament. It has been a fantastic tournament to watch and to see how the game has continued to grow in, amongst, and around the African continent, with crowds obviously dependent upon the matchups, but we are also efforting to see if we can catch up with anyone from CAF and find out what they think about the tournament, what they thought about the tournament, and all those questions. So we are efforting an interview with CAF, so we'll see if we can find out what happens after the tournament, get a bit of a postmortem, and find out what's going on. But we are now down to the third place game on Saturday and the championship on Sunday afternoon, and you can get that at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here, and that gives me a chance to give you the read where Fanatis is concerned, and it is fntz.co/soccer down here, and that link is important. Helps them, helps us. Helps you by adding more matches to everything you're already watching. With Fanatis, you get all the be-ins, which meant that you've been watching AFCON the entire time, along with Teise, matches from Argentina, more leagues across South America, all in one place, one subscription, one home. Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. So that is the early reads, and we'll get into what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it in hour number 2. Okay, that is AFCON for you. Yesterday, it was up at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, the opportunity for Tata Martino and Chris Henderson to address the media for the first time since it is now officially day 4 of training camp for Atlanta United in 2026. And so it was a chance for Tata Martino to once again reintroduce his philosophy and what he's expecting in training camp from the Atlanta United players, and for Chris Henderson to let the assembled media know what the process is like, who they may be chasing after, what they're looking for, all these kinds of things. There's a question early on from our Madison Cruz involving the back line specifically and competition and all of that. And so here was the question from our Matty Cruz catching up with Chris Henderson about the window and what you might be looking for with competition at the back, and how that kind of relays itself into everything involving Atlanta United, and how they might be looking to fill some holes or perceived holes in the roster here in training camp, getting ready for the 2026 season.
Adding Ronald as well, and then Tomas, and then obviously Lucas too, a lot of depth in the squad. How is that going to help, especially through competition, especially for a lot of those positions like the back line, trying to fight for a place in that starting lineup?
Yeah, and I think it's one of the themes this year. We want to compete every day on the field, compete in every game. I think it's a mentality and a identity that Tata's teams always compete. So I'm happy with that, and I'm happy with the players we're bringing in. I think it motivates the other guys when there's competition for the spot. You have to be sharp every day. You have to be healthy, confident. So all of that plays into a better team, I think.
Chris Henderson with our Madison Cruz at Chris Henderson's first press conference for the year yesterday at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. And just like I said, we'll get into more of it tomorrow with Tata Martino and more from Chris Henderson. But the bottom line, the philosophical bottom line is this: you're looking for competition on the field every single day, and that is where you're going to be able to get the best out of your players, find out who is grasping what you are trying to impress upon the players when it comes to philosophy and day-to-day activity and all this kind of stuff. And so you look at Tata Martino's history, looking at strong center backs, you're looking at a 6, and Tata mentioned the idea of being a protagonist. And so I think that if we keep that word in mind this season where Atlanta United is concerned, then it is going to be the one that is the one of the two teams that is going to be impressing upon the other the plan of action, what the game is going to look like. It's going to look like what Atlanta United wants to look like. It's not going to look like what you want it to look like, and having Atlanta United react. And so you're looking purpose and transition. You're looking at Tata Martino with that added pull, being able to sit there when Chris Henderson and Tata Martino are looking for players. Tata Martino is that extra bit of pull. Is sit there and it's like, well, would you like to learn from Tata Martino? And that is that added draw when it comes to players that you're looking for. And so the idea is that this is not going to be the Band-Aid. This is what they're doing here with Chris Henderson, Tata Martino. It's not a Band-Aid. It is something that can set something up for the next 3 to 5 years to get Atlanta United back to where the 17s want them, obviously, and where Atlanta United's front office and the coaching staff and the players want it to be. So that's what you're looking for. It is the daily battles that are going to be out there on the practice field, trying to determine who is on the right path, who is assimilating the information, who is getting out of the practice sessions what Tata Martino is looking for in these ideas. And so you want every spot earned. You got to earn it every single day. And it doesn't matter what the name is on the front. It matters what the crest is. I mean, it doesn't matter what the name is on the back. It matters what the crest is on the front. And so that's what you're staring at with Atlanta United in the everyday. And so you're looking at all of these players that are going to be possibly looking, okay, so who's going to be the leader now? Who is going to be the leader of this team out on the field? Obviously, with the transaction of Bart Sliech had worn the captain's armband a couple of times last year. And I think that if Bart Sliech had stayed, it would have been Bart Sliech would have been one of those individuals that you look for as those that would be wearing the captain's armband. Brad Gazan obviously wearing the captain's armband. So what is it going to look like for the 2026 Atlanta United? Who is that individual going to be? Who's going to step up and wear the captain's armband and have the responsibility and understand the gravity of wearing that armband out on the field? That's what you're looking at here in training camp. Who's going to assume that mantle when it comes to the new leadership under Tata Martino and with Atlanta United? And so Chris Henderson also mentioned that that has been a true collaborative process. They're making additions in scouting and science, and Chris named at least 6 or 8 people that have been a part of the discovery process and the collaborative process when it comes to Atlanta United and assembling all of these individuals that are going to be on the field for Atlanta United in 2026. And Mihai has mentioned in the past so far this week that it is a system that is going to be pressing high. You defend with courage, and you don't wait. It is act and not react. You're the one that is going to be sitting there and being proactive. It's that whole idea, once again, the whole idea of being the protagonist in all of this. That's what you're staring at when it comes to Atlanta United in 2026. Higher line. Mihai admits, obviously, that means that you're going to have to really be focused the entire time, that the commitment is going to have to be there. But once again, he's ready for that challenge, and he knows that those around him, and he's fairly confident that those around him are ready to embrace that idea of challenge when it comes to Atlanta United. And Mihai also addressed the idea of, because of what 2025 was, taking the time off and then being ready to come back and improve in 26. Understand what 25 was, take the time for a mental reset, then be ready to come in here for training camp in 26 and be ready to take on the challenge that what Tata Martino wants you to do. So you're looking at that. And so it is going to be from Mihai in 26, it is learn from Tata and the coaching staff and what you're looking at in the film room. It's about those internal things, heart and belief and sacrifice and all of that. So Nea Mihai mentioned that as well as a part of the entire process too. You've got Tata, when he came out, once again, you're looking at quality and edge. And he made a point to praise the relationship that Miguel Almiron and Alexei Miranchuk have. So you have, that is something that he has locked into already. But he knows that it is not just talent and not just what they can do on the field that is going to be that full package. It's more than that. It is about being consistent. It is about understanding that when things go poorly, coming back from those moments that are there, and you have that to look at too. Also, because there's this thought of, once again, we've been talking about the on the field stuff, but there's the off the field and the internal things that you're looking at as well here in training camp. Who is balancing both of those? Who's grasping both of those? Who is ready to attack with both of those coming up in 2026. And so you're looking at a holding mid, you're looking at competition in net, you're looking at the scoring ideas in the midfield and the forwards. Once again, you're looking at the idea of a collective, that Borg-like identity that we talk about, that I talk about probably more than most, but it's that whole idea of the collective working its way forward. And so you're looking at Atlanta once again. And we always mention front foot, but I don't want to use that because it's more than just that. It is about dictating the action. It's about dictating activity, and it's about not just being aggressive when you've got the ball, but being aggressive trying to get the ball back and creating those opportunities going forward. So it is a two-way street basically, where Tata has said that being a protagonist, you're dictating games with the ball. You're controlling the tempo with possession, and you don't wait for moments to happen. You create them yourself. Where I know that there's probably, just as an example, the frustration about working the ball from side to side that we heard from Ronnie Dyla about last season. And Ronnie Dyla, when he was head coach, he wanted activity north and south, not east and west. And Tata is that same way. He is looking for you're looking for that kind of creation of moments. And like I said, we'll get into this more tomorrow when we hear more from Tata and from Chris. But you're looking at, this is not a short-term fix, but you're looking for those individuals for the next 3 to 5 years that understand what Tata is looking for, what they understand, what it means when you're to be active and you're to be proactive. You're to be the one dictating what's going on, whether it is on offense or on defense, trying to get the ball back, those kinds of things. So it is leading games, setting a standard, and being out there philosophically when it comes to Atlanta United. So obviously, like I said, we'll get into it more tomorrow, but I wanted to set that table right here and just kind of give you the idea and lay it all out. Okay, well, Googie, welcome back. Okay, so Googie is back and away from following the team for several months. Founding member, just beyond jaded after 25, which is understandable. Trying to get behind the club ahead of the season. Is Tata going to be using the same tactics and formation that we were accustomed to, the 4-2-3-1 or the 4-2-3-1 style? Don't know. But at the same time, I would also not marry yourself to a 4-2-3-1, because literally what I would do is this. I would take it game by game when you are looking at how Atlanta United will approach an opponent. I literally would look at it game by game. And I don't mean that in the sense of, well, if something poor happens, then you slough it off, you push it to the side, and you come back and you rebound next time. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about forgetting a loss and coming forward from that. What I am talking about is literally look at it opponent to opponent. There may be some consistency if he goes with the 4-2-3-1 where you have 2 6s. And does that mean that it is Alzate and Jay Fortune? It could be. Does it mean that you are looking at something akin to so if we were to take the 4-2-3-1, let's take the 4-2-3-1 and look at it a bit. So I would say that there would be some consistency that you could, and I don't want to use the word assume, but if you were to take past evidence into account, if you use that as your operating and informational base, I don't see any issue with that. But I would say this. Look at it at times, matchup to matchup. Literally look at the opponent, sit there and go, okay, what is the opponent bringing to the table, and how would Atlanta United combat that? And also, I would also say when it comes to formations, don't necessarily get hung up on the idea of a formation. If you looked at the players in the starting 11 and could say, yeah, that could look like a 4-2-3-1, but then in attack it looks like something else. It could be a 4-4-2 in attack. It could be a 3-5-2 in defense. Just take that 4-2-3-1 as the foundation of what you're looking at on a game-by-game basis. And if the opponent means that you have to look different structurally, then that would be the case. But if you were to go to a 4-2-3-1, something like that, if you work that with your informational base, then you're looking at left back right now. It's probably a competition because you know that Pedro Amador wants to rebound from what happened in 25 after he came here in 24. So then it's competition at left back, Dominic Chongqui. It is Pedro Amador. Okay. So looking at competition at left back. Your center back, some combination of Mihai, Gregerson, Barakal, and working from there. Right back looks like at the moment it's Tomas Jakob. So that would be your back line of back four. If you went with 2 6s, then it would be Alzate and combination of Alzate and Jay Fortune if he's healthy. Maybe Matt Edwards is a part of the discussion at right back and at right center back. Then if you were to go with the 3 midfielders, you're looking at Miggy, you're looking at Miranchuk, and then you're trying to figure out left midfield. What does that look like? Is it Saba? Is it Luke? Is it someone that we haven't considered as a part of the process yet? Then your striker up top, combination of Latte Lot and Jamal, and obviously Cayman Togashi. Then, so you're looking at how do you want to attack the left wing situation, and what's that going to look like? Like I said, is it Saba? Is it Luke? Is it somebody else? Is it what happens during the week? Probably choice D, all the above. And so right now, I would say that obviously you're looking at the 6, as was discussed by Chris yesterday. And then you're trying to figure out, okay, what's it gonna look like from here? So, okay, so sure, okay. So Gugi is Gugi wanted, that's the picture that he wanted to better understand the plus and minus of each figurative position. Okay, so we might be going long this morning. All right, let me see here what we are. I want to look at the roster real quick. Did not see. Let me check the transactions real quick, and let me see if I am in with another. All right, so I'm in my wrong email. So hang on just a second. Let me get the roster. All right, so here we go. All right. With the signing of Ronald, you know that Ronald is going to give you anything and everything. And he's your Swiss Army knife. All right. So keepers, Hibbert and Hoyos, and John O'Ransom and Donaldson, etc. So defenders, it is Amador Barakal, DCQ, Matt Edwards, Ronald, Stian Gregerson, Tomas Jakob, and Mihai, Caden Moore. So Amador on the left, DCQ on the left, Barakal, and this is center backs, and so left center back would be Mihai. Then you're looking at Stian, Matt, and Barakal either as center backs either on the left or the right. Tomas Jakob on the right, Ronald Hernandez on the right, or basically wherever you want Ronald to play. Midfield. If you go 2 6s, it's Alzate and maybe a healthy Jay Fortune. Then you're looking at Tristan and Will Riley, Cooper Sanchez as the fight there for your 2 6s and your midfield spots. Attacking midfield, Miggy, Saba, Alexi. So that's across the board. So Saba and Alexi. So Miggy and Alexi probably leaning right or center and right. If you think of Alexi as your point guard, Miggy out on the right-hand side in the midfield. Saba would be on the left-hand side off the top. Then Santi Pizza probably going to be spending more time with the 2s, but if he just absolutely shows up and shows out, he's probably going to be getting cups of coffee with the first team, especially with multiple competitions. Then we mentioned Will Riley, Cooper Sanchez, Aiden Torres. Forwards. Right now it's 4. Luke, Latte Lot, Jamal, and Togashi. So Luke is listed as a forward, but he can play on the left-hand side. So if you use, Gugi, if you use that 4-2-3-1 as your as your baseline for how you would think of things philosophically, then take that and like I said, depending on if a team comes in with 2 strikers, then you would do one of 2 things. It would be a 3-5-2, or it would be seeing one of your 6s, probably Alzate. If it's the case, Alzate drifts back and becomes that 3rd center back. So those are the kind of things to have in your hip pocket when it comes to looking at the team this year. So if you were to sit there and say, take the 4 and the 2, you could take that 4 and 2, and if you had one of your 2 6s drift back, it turns into a 5 in defense. And then the other one, which is more offensive minded, can work their way forward in the attack when Atlanta United has the ball. So use the 4-2-3-1 as your baseline. But then when it comes to opponents, don't stick to that as your formation thought because of what can happen in transition and in offense and where players can rotate around and where they can come back and help. So I think that's how I would look at it. But take that 4-2-3-1, use that as your baseline. May not be that way every time at whistle blow, but it might evolve into attack, and it might look like other things as you're there. And I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, yell at me and let me know. So I would say, sure, take that 4-2-3-1 as your knowledge base and sit that's your menu. That's the menu that you go walking in when you're watching Atlanta United every time. So look at that menu, sit there and go, okay, 4-2-3-1. And now I want to add something from the appetizer plate, and I want to put it someplace else. I want to work the menu, and I want to try and figure out what my plate's going to look like. So that I hope that helps, Googie. So that would be the way that I would kind of look at things when it comes to. Okay, so good. Helpful to understand where and what we might hear. Yeah, in silly season. So like I said, Chris mentioned possibly 6s and things like that. Like I said, we'll run into that tomorrow. We'll get into Chris more in depth tomorrow and what he was talking about in the press conference and things like that. But maybe 6s, maybe left back, and trying to then figure out. So is it left wing? Is it 6s, especially with the departure of Bart Sleesh, and then left back? So that's kind of where I would be looking at things. And there was the discussion of the player last week, and primarily the Elias from San Lorenzo, and so left back possibly. So you kind of see where they're going in these situations. So that's kind of where I am when it looks like when it looks like what you're staring at for absences or other things coming into 26. Abby says, looking at the QOD video, and DCQ looked as if he grew in height. I haven't seen Dom yet, but I would imagine so, considering international competition. And DCQ and Dom's got another year under his belt. He's playing internationally for the United States. And so I'm looking forward to the evolution of Dominic Chongqui. I anticipate that he will be competing for left back. He'll be competing for left back minutes. Obviously, we talk about multiple competitions this year. Don't be surprised if that happens, if he's getting minutes in competitions, or if he earns it, once again, as we've been discussing with Tata Martino, if he's earning it on the practice field to be a part of the game day 18, to be a part of a starting lineup here and there with schedule compression and things like that. So competition, nothing is assumed. You're all out there Monday through Friday, and we'll see what happens. But also, I'm looking forward to the evolution of the captain's armband and what that's going to look like for Atlanta United this year. So who's going to be the one wearing the captain's armband? Is it Miggy? Is it who is going to be that captain's armband? That to me, is it Mihai, Morning Hutch? So who's gonna earn wearing the captain's armband? That to me is going to be another one of the subplots that we have here in 2026, especially here in training camp. Okay. hopefully that helped with everything that we're looking at here. 4 days into training camp. And we will let you know as we know what's going on Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground. Okay, let me say hi to everybody here. Morning, Abby. Morning, Ricky. Morning, David. Morning, Dawn Star. Welcome back. Morning, Alex. And Alex, obviously, just know that everybody's thinking about you because Alex's surgery is tomorrow, and then he gets the weekend to start recovery. But yeah, keep your thoughts and your love with Alex as goes under the knife tomorrow. So morning, Ricky. Morning, Alex. And Googie, thanks for the questions. Morning, Abby. And Hutch, what are you doing? So OKC for soccer. So, and this goes into what we also were looking at for Morning Espresso this morning. It looks like Fresno might be trying to get back into the soccer business with the live, work, play. So OKC for soccer. Okay, so it could things be complete? Could things be completely fixed now when it comes to OKC? Yeah, because Taft has been like under construction forever. So, new stadium rendering showcasing an on the pitch supporter section, fans standing on the playing surface. Okay, NBA court style sections planned for the new stadium. Court Jeske is apparently a fan of that. So, right there. Okay. So, the full details are in a release at OKC for soccer because, once again, they were trying to renovate Taft Stadium, and they ran into a bunch of discussions involving the city and disagreements and all these kinds of things. And so, okay. According to OKC, closer to the action than any fans in the world when the MAPS 4 multi-purpose stadium opens in 2028. Newly reduced renderings of the stadium supporter section showcase an on-the-pitch experience for fans behind the South goal, experience reminiscent of courtside seats at basketball arenas, see supporters' feet on the actual playing surface. And it's MAPS 4 multi-purpose is going to be the home matches designed by Populous. They include Spurs Stadium, Estadio BBVA, Geodis, among others. Capacity of just over 10. Dedicated supporter section for 1,500. Safe standing configuration as well. Populous's Phil Colbo, the principal, excited to develop the innovative experience. Kicking off in 2028, competing in USL Championship. Ownership, Christian Kennedy, founding partner and CEO of Echo Investment Capital. Athletes, operators, community leaders. Managed by Echo, and it's going to be in Bricktown. Let's see. So development, be within easy walking distance of the new OKC Thunder Arena, the Convention Center, Bricktown, and Scissortail Park. So you get the whole live, work, play idea. And this looks like an opportunity for us to catch up with Court Jeske at OKC. So I frankly, for me, that sounds cool. I'd love to know how they are going to I'd love to know how they're going to figure out who's going to be in the standing section. Is it going to be a lottery for all of the ultras? It's like you get to stand in the standing section for this match. So yeah, and Taft, yeah, and Hut, yeah, Hutch is saying Taft was too small for dimensions for USL, and it was, yeah, it was a challenge when OKC was engaged. And so after the show, thank you for reminding me, Hutch. So email Court Jeske about OKC. All right, so we'll see if Court could come on with us, and we'll ask about what's going on with OKC for soccer and all of that. So, all right, so OKC wants people standing. They got like one row in the new schematics, one row of fans standing on the surface, and the ultras are behind in that section of the field. So, yeah, we'll catch up with Court, and we'll see if Court can come on and discuss everything that is going on with OKC for soccer as they get ready for live, work, play in 26, so 28. So, all right. So we are following OKC for soccer, and they have said that they are going to be doing what they're going to be doing. Okay. All right. A couple of things before Nino Damas joins us in about 10 minutes. NWSL, I wanted to get into this, and from Melanie Anzadeh, and this came out last night. NWSLPA is saying the new HIP rule violates the CBA, and they're seeking an immediate rescission And I thought that rescission didn't have an SC, but apparently it does. So they have now filed a grievance against the league, arguing that the HIP rule, the high impact player rule, violated the terms of the CBA, and federal labor law called for the mechanism to be revoked. NWSLPA is saying that it is, quote, seeking immediate rescission of the HIP rule, demanded the league enter into negotiations in good faith, in quotation marks, with the Players Association on any changes that impact player compensation. Megan Burke, executive director, in a statement, said that the unilateral decision by the league, once again, and this has been something that Megan Burke has been discussing the entire time, that this was something that the league just basically dropped in and they didn't talk to the PA about. So the PA is obviously hot. They want it withdrawn and they want to talk about it. It's like, okay, you know, maybe we could agree to this if we talk about it, but you drop this in and that violates the CBA. So pull it and remove the language. So changed how the unilateral decision by the league changed how a player's fair market value was evaluated and thus must be collectively bargained. And we have gotten into this discussion a lot about the metrics that are used or that would be used to determine HIP. And there are parts in here that I think need to be revisited, because really you're getting into, and I'm mixing business with persons here, but it is restraint of trade. I would sit here and think that it is restraint of trade because of the metrics that you send, instead of trusting that the clubs themselves should be able to determine who that high impact player should be. I would imagine that Lindsay Heaps is going to be would be that Larry Bird exception, would be the DP in the NWSL when she comes in July and starts for Denver. That should be up to Denver to decide, unless there is something in the wording of a franchise that you will sit there and do what the league what the league tells you will do as a chartered member of the NWSL. So I would imagine that, yes, Lindsay Heaps would be a no-brainer for that Larry Bird exception, the DP rule, the HIP, whatever you want to call it. But I would also think that if you found a player in an underreported, underserved market where you're looking for these, and for lack of to reintroduce the business term, an underappreciated asset. If you were to go to, just for the sake of argument, the Liechtenstein First Division, and that was just the first country that popped into my head. If you found a player in the Liechtenstein First Division that is gangbusters and you wanted to make them your HIP, DP, Larry Bird exception, you should have the right to do that on your own. And the players should understand that, hey, you know, if I own a club in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, and I wanted to go to Liechtenstein's First Division to get a DP, a HIP, the Larry Bird exception, that I should be able to do that on my own, and that the league should trust me as a front office to sit there and say, I want to invest this money into this individual from the Liechtenstein First Division. But that's not how this currently works. The HIP rule, it was introduced 2 days before Christmas. You can pay up to $1 million above the salary cap on players who meet certain criteria. Voter-generated lists focused on player skills and marketability. We all know when it comes to voter-generated lists, how dangerous a proposition that can be. U.S. women's national team minutes selection to year-end NWSL honors goes into effect July 1st. Teams are allowed to negotiate applicable HIP contracts now. And NWSL, when announcing the rule, said exercised, quote, its discretion to establish the HIP roster classification and reduce associated salary cap charges. Megan Burke told Full-Time last week, union and league disagree on whether the rule fits the definition of a roster classification, which would determine if the mechanism needs to be collectively bargained or not. They both agree, meaning Megan Burke said, we agree that increasing investment in player compensation is necessary to remain competitive in the global labor market. Solution is straightforward, collectively bargained by raising the cap. I could see this as well. What the league cannot do is invent a parallel pay system outside the salary cap that was never negotiated, then limit access to compensation through league-controlled criteria that excludes some players, end quote. And that was what I was getting into about the idea of not letting front offices determine who they wanted to bring in to be the DP, the hip, or the Larry Bird exception. I agree with raising the salary cap. But once again, you're going to have these players in the NWSL. And the whole crux of this was trying to hang on to Trinity Rodman. When DC Power and the USL Super League decided that they wanted to try and kick the tires on an offer, that kind of set up the spidey senses of the NWSL. Hey, we need to do something. Major League Soccer, they sit there and it's like, okay, fine. We have our parameters in place. DPs only count X amount toward the salary cap. Same with the rookie contracts, the league veteran minimums, all those kinds of things. So a DP in Major League Soccer is that on a cap. It is X on a cap. But you can pay that player whatever you want above and beyond the cap, or above and beyond the figure for a DP you can do whatever you want. Like I said, Lionel Messi's got his NIL deals and all of those things, and he's making about 50. But I think it's 22 when it comes to guaranteed, base plus guaranteed. I think it's 22 if I remember correctly. So right now, the league, meaning the NWSL, is in the process. I mean, you've lost Sam Coffey yesterday to Manchester City. You've lost Alyssa Thompson, Naomi Girma. You're trying to hang on to Trinity Rodman. NWSL said in response, critical to the growth and health of the NWSL, teams have the ability to compete on the international stage for talent with the biggest soccer clubs in the world. HIP rule is a targeted mechanism that unlocks compensation for all players across the roster while giving NWSL teams the ability to sign athletes who exhibit the world-leading skill and ability to raise the competitive and commercial profile of the league. Okay. So if I find someone in the Liechtenstein First Division, I would think in my own, if I'm the one who is running the team in Yellowknife, Yukon, I think that player is going to raise my awareness level because she's going to come in here and she's going to score 97 goals and what have you. But if the league takes their interpretation of competitive and commercial profile, one of those two probably gets checked off by the league. The other one does not. But is that up to the league to determine commercial profile and viability? If I'm that owner, I should say, yeah, I think that person will be. They're not right now, and they don't fit some of your parameters about top 50 players worldwide and voter-generated things and all that kind of stuff. But I think that it should be up to the teams themselves to determine who they want to have as that Larry Bird exception. So that's where we are. Obviously, the league disagrees with the NWSLPA's assertions about the league ability to implement the rule, fully complied with CBA and federal law, defending the positions in the CBA grievance process. Spirit reached a contract agreement, remember, with Trinity Rodman last month, one that she was ready to accept. The league rejected the offer, arguing it violated the spirit of the league's rules. Spirit proposed a 4-year scaling contract that would see Rodman paid more in the final 2 years. Obviously, you're hoping that your media rights deals increase and the cap increases, and understandably so. Current media rights deal expires next year. Sources didn't provide the exact figures for the proposed salary for each of the 4 years, although the annual average is over $1 million. So it's 7 figures on average. So they filed a grievance on December 3rd on behalf of Rodman. Then 3 weeks later, the NWSL creates the HIP rule. And so now the league has 14 days from the date of any PA grievance to either sustain or deny the filing in writing. The initial grievance on Rodman's behalf got an extended deadline. Most recent grievance was filed 3 days ago. Now it's got to be either sustained or denied by the 26th. Without a response, the grievance committee of a league rep and a player rep reviews the situation, and then if there's no resolution, the dispute goes to arbitration. So that's where we are when it comes to the HIP rule. And it's okay, so that's where we are. A couple of things quickly. Liam Rosenior has held a players' meeting as Chelsea looks to contain a virus outbreak. They're trying to contain a virus outbreak in camp. Liam Delap, Jamie Gittins missed Carabao Cup. They've been ordered to stay away from the training ground. Members of the staff have also come down with the bug, didn't come in for work today. They take on Brentford in the Premier League on Saturday. And so Chelsea's now having to look at health and wellness right now. And you've got Wolfsburg submitting an 18 million euro offer for a defender out of Toulouse. Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Glazer family have flown into Manchester for a leadership summit. Leeds look like they're close to completing the Buonanotte loan from Brighton. And Samuel Eto'o has been banned for misconduct and violating principles of sportsmanship in the AFCON loss to Morocco. So we'll get into those kinds of things as we go. But it is that time. It is that time for hour number 2. And when we have hour number 2, this means we go to one place. We go to one place and one place only to start things off. And this is where we go. We go to Lima, Peru, and find out what is going on with our buddy Nino Torres, and who's already started car alarms and sirens here in hour number.
I know, but I know it's crazy, brother. I got construction workers going on, got an ambulance going on, got the motorcade going on. Everything is going on at the same time, bro. It is crazy. It is crazy. By the way, Johnny, I love that room, brother. Are you in Key West or something? You look like in the Bahamas or something?
Close.
Where are you, man?
It is anniversary week for me and the boss. And
All
so
right.
we are staring at the Gulf. I literally can look at this. We rent this house for this week every year. Monday was our anniversary for 13. And so what we do is we rent this house and we stare at the Gulf for a week, and we come back on Sundays. So when you come back again next week, you'll see us back inside Office HD. But we are here every single year, and so this is what the other bedroom looks like, so I don't disturb anything else going on here at St. George Island. So, yeah, it's very Art Deco-y this morning.
Yeah, beautiful, man. Like Miami, man, or something like that, huh?
It is that state, but we are far more northern than that. I forgot to do something.
What?
I forgot to say yellow, yellow, yellow.
Oh, yeah. Jesus, man. I'm sorry, man. Yellow, yellow, yellow. Soccer Down Here, fans. Nino Torres with you on this Thursday when we are fully loaded to talk about the ball, brother. The beautiful soccer ball around the world. Yes, sir.
That is absolutely true. And once again, for those that might be joining us for the first time, I don't look at Nino Damas's topics. I don't. I sit there and I embrace the chaos of this segment every single week. He has topics and ideas and thoughts that he brings to the table, including his World Cup moment that we always wrap up the segment with, since we are in a World Cup year. So I am now going to open the topics, and I'm going to see what it looks like. And the first topic is Mourinho doesn't want to talk to Nino Damas. I think he is scared.
So, just to remind our Soccer Down Here fans and listeners, all right, when Nino Damas said, I think a couple of weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, when I threw my prediction, I got my crystal ball, and I said, Benfica will go empty-handed at the end of the year. A week later, they were ousted of the cup. 2 weeks later, they were ousted of the second cup. And now they're trailing Porto by like 250,000 points in the Premier League. So most likely, it's going to happen. My prediction of Benfica not winning anything this year, absolutely anything, because if you're thinking that Benfica is going to do something in the Champions League, no, it ain't going to happen. If you believe that Porto is going to drop 12 points from now on, they haven't dropped a single loss yet in the season, yeah, it's not going to happen. So Mourinho, in his return to Benfica, to the Premier League, man, so disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
So disappointing. And usually you blame the coach, or you blame the boss. He's in charge and la la la. But let's be honest here. It's the transfer market for Benfica. It hasn't been productive. It hasn't been prolific. It hasn't been. They haven't brought anyone who really can make an impact on this team. I know I love Richie Rios. He's been fantastic, but still not being that quarterback that Benfica needs on the midfield. So and they have issues with the outbacks for I don't know how many years now. I mean, every time that they let go on left back, they struggle. They got Ale Grimaldo, who's fantastic now playing for Leverkusen. They got then Carreras, they let him go to Real Madrid. But in between, on those 2 seasons, Benfica always struggled to sign the right people for the right places. In this case, their outback positions has been a weakness since I've been calling the Premier Liga. All right, since 2019. Only I want to say only 2 seasons out of the 6.5 that I call that they have a decent player in those positions with Carreras and Grimaldo. But other than that, every time that they let one of those go, they have a hard time to replace him. And people that are mad at because I mean they're so mad. There's a lot of people that they don't want him to win the election, but in the end he won by a landslide. So I guess that there's more people that love him than hate him. So,
or they know that the strategic relationship is best if they vote one way as opposed to the other. Just it's like I don't want to jeopardize what I got, even though I may not like the guy. So I'm going to go ahead and vote for him. It's the devil I know as opposed to the devil I don't know.
Yeah. You rather got that devil, right? You don't want another devil. You don't want another one, no. It's crazy, man. But hey, we'll see.
All right, topic number 2, otherwise known as a dose. So we're going for dose. Alianza Lima 0 for 2 in a cold summer for them, and having to do with their debts with a question mark. And you go,
Yeah, buddy. So this is the thing, right? Alianza Lima spent I don't know how many, I don't want to say millions. I think they're millions at this point now. Yeah, they got like 6 or 7 signings already, and they were offering $90K a month salaries for players.
wow.
I'm talking about dollars, Johnny. Huh? I mean, we're talking about dollars here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So 90K, 80K, 75K. You add that up, and you got some money. You got some serious money there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the new coach Pablo Guede, it's been only 2 games, right? I'm not making a splash out of this, but they lost to Independiente. They ended up, who was playing basically with under 19 players. They lost to Unión de Santa Fe yesterday, from the 2nd division in Argentina. And not only that, it seems that already there is a clash between the coach and the players. Okay, because if you see, it's all over the place. John, it's the biggest blooper. You seen it? The put Alianza Lima blooper. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because it's a joke basically. What happened? Peña gets the ball, and he passes the ball to his goalie. This is under the 1st minute, man. No, not even 2 minutes of playing. Like he passes the ball back to the goalie, but the goalie wasn't there. Where's my goalie?
Oh no!
His goalie was 2 steps away or 3 steps away from the ball, and like what?
Oh.
It was a ridiculous own goal, man. That's an own goal that happened in high school. All right, you can get those to high school players, but not to professional players. You don't see this. The last time I've seen something like that, I don't know, 10 years ago or something. I don't know. Okay, so but that's not the point. That's not the worst part. The worst part is that right before he touches the ball, Pablo Guede from the sideline tells Peña, "Hey, what do you think? You think that the players are coming to you? You gotta go forward. You're the number 10. I want you to progress with the ball. Don't expect for your teammates to come back to you and hey, Sergio, hey, pass me the ball, please. Can you pass the ball to me, please? Will you? Yeah. Oh, you're right there. Let me pass the ball to you. No. You gotta find out." So as soon as he finished the sentence, boom, he commits a mistake.
Oh.
It's like, gee, okay, all right. And then Paulo Guerrero was subbed out, and he was not happy about it, brother. It's a friendly. It's a summer camp. What are you talking about? Why you get mad at being subbed in the 75th minute in a summer tournament where everybody's chilling? No, I don't want to leave. It looks like that locker room is going to be fun to watch, man. There's going to be a lot of telenovelas coming out of there, and I want to see all the stories, all the parties, all the girls are coming in and coming out. We know that locker room. We know how it is. They like cumbia, they like salsa, they like that's all they like. All right, discipline. No, that's not on the table here, brother. You gotta take it somewhere else because discipline is not coming here to play with us now. So, but that's the other thing. The worst part. The worst part is that all this money I was mentioning, Alianza Lima and Universitario, they're both under an what is this? Universitario is in a worse position than Alianza because the Alianza's debt is way lower than Universitario. Universitario Portugal has $150 million debt.
Whoa!
Right, with the Peruvian IRS. The Alianza has like 30 or something, 30.
30.
30, but it's not 150, right?
Yeah.
So, but there are two debts. There are the current debt and the accumulated debt. The accumulated debt is the one that they're paying by the year to the IRS, but the current debt is growing.
Yeah.
It's growing exponentially in the last 2 years. Why? Because they're signing players like crazy because they want to beat the Universitario. They don't sign players to make the team better. They sign the players to beat Universitario, to stop Universitario from winning the 4th title in a row, and to be the only team in the history of professional soccer in Peru to win 4 titles in a row. That's what they're spending. That's why they're spending the money like the way they're spending it. And the problem is, it's a big problem because the Fondo Blanqueazul, which is a fund group that helps Alianza Lima with the money and the finances and everything. They're a bunch of frat boys, a bunch of rich kids with money, but they're serious money. I'm talking about these kids that they got serious money, and they're playing like they're playing frat boys. That's why they're playing. That's why they fired the coach on the spot. That's why they take decisions with a hot head, and they don't have that the spirit. They don't have they're not that wise. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
In a nice way. They're not that wise. They only know that they have money and we want to spend it in order to stop Universitario from winning. We're not going to make our team better. We're going to beat you. Okay, good luck.
Yeah. And well, I mean, it's like, well, we don't want you to have it, so we're going to have it, and we're just going to take the hit, basically. So it's like, we don't want you to have it. Sidebar, before we go to another topic. According to our friends at Sweeper, Boavista have taken another step towards insolvency after failing to meet their court-ordered payment of just under €150,000 by the required date. The Porto-based outfit, one of only 2 clubs outside of Portugal's Big Three to become national champions, has still not given up hope the necessary funds can be raised to save the club. So Boavista, apparently, they internally think they can still exist, but they missed the €150,000 payment the other day.
It's ridiculous, right? Because my boy Mike D'Agostino in Two Tuesdays, he said this like in August. This team is going to disappear. He predicted that. He said that, the way the things were going, I was like, all right, well, basically, could manage to stay afloat one more season. He was like, no, man, no, they're doing the things so wrong that they just destroying the club, and they're gonna end up in the district leagues, and that's what's happening right now.
No, I mean that not a surprise. Okay, now we come back to your rundown because when you mentioned debts and things, I'm like, oh, I got to ask about that. TV rights are settled in Peru with one caveat, just one, and I imagine it's a rather large caveat. So what are we talking about here?
So do you remember that we were talking that there was no, Universitario Deportes was no part of the group, but they were trying to get their own deal. But in the end, they settle, right? All right, we're gonna sign. We're gonna sign the deal. We're gonna join the group, and we're gonna be line up with all the teams in the Liga Uno to be under Liga Uno Max and to be under Once Noventa, which is the company that owns the TV rights.
Yep.
And remember that I said that we're gonna pay you. We haven't paid you yet. That okay.
We'll kick the can down the road. We'll pay you.
So this sign, so they haven't paid what they owe, but they sign a promise of payment, right? A promise of payment. I swear, you signed the deal. I'm about to pay you. Last time I checked, that the money hasn't landed in the account of Melgar de Arequipa, who they owe money to, not from last season, but the season before, and 2 years in a row they own money to Melgar. Anyway, but the big caveat here, and it's and the way they protect the product from not going on this season. Why do I say this? Because there were plans in between the teams that if you don't pay us, we're not going to play. Okay, that was before they signed the deal, right? If you don't pay us, the season won't start on January 30. Who knows when it's going to start? Because as soon as you pay the money, then we sign the deal. All right. So there is an amendment. No, it's an amendment, a clause. I'm sorry, not an amendment. It's a clause on the deal that they're signing.
Yeah.
That none of the teams can go on a strike to protest because of the no payment. You can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to go on a strike, basically, if we don't pay you. Right? So, but okay, so that's that. And that the other clause is that they manage the clubs to reduce the payment from 120 days that they were planning on to 30 days.
Okay.
So at least they got that. I don't know when they're going to get the paid, but at least it's better. 130 is better than 120, right? All the time, right? I can, okay. January 1st, you pay me in January and February 1st. Okay, I'm good. All right. But you're not allowed to protest. You're not allowed to go on strike. You cannot sabotage the league because that's it's on your contract. That's what they did. That's what they did to protect themselves from the clubs to protest for their rights, for what is right, for the payments, man.
Because you want to get paid. You don't want to just sit there and play when people are sitting there and they're going, well, sure, we'll pay you. Yeah, we'll pay you soon. Well, what is soon? Well, soon, very soon. It's like that scene in Romancing the Stone. Ira. Come and get me. I'm coming to get you, Ralph. When? Soon, very soon. I mean, that's what you're looking at with this. That's what this sounds like to me. That's that scene where the boat is leaving Danny DeVito on the dock in Romancing the Stone. I'm coming to get you, Ralph. When? Soon. How soon?
Yeah.
Very soon. I mean, literally, that's what that sounds like to me.
Yeah, no, like I went to this cafe, right? It was nice because they saw my post on Instagram of my desserts. And can you come over, show us your result? Okay, I'm going in. All right, this is what I got. All right, what do you want? All right, I can bring you a sample. Half a dozen of these desserts, and we go from there. All right, cool. But you got receipts? Yeah, I can make a receipt. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, boom. I go there, drop the cakes. Get the receipt. Oh, yeah, we pay you 45. You got a 45-day payment. What? What do you mean? Yeah, we go to suppliers, but I'm not your supplier yet. I'm just bringing you this sample. You got to pay me for this. Yeah, but you got the receipt. So, okay, we're going to pay you in 45 days. I was like, all right, this is one and done. I'm not coming back to this place anymore, brother.
Yeah. No.
So I'm brother, no, man. You got the desserts are fresh. The payment is fresh.
Yeah. Yes. The food is fresh. The payment got to be fresh.
Yeah.
That's what you're. Yeah. Yes, Googie. I just did Romancing the Stone because that was what stuck in my head when it came to this particular payment schedule. We're going to pay you. How soon, Ralph? Soon. Very soon, basically. That is exactly what happened. Yes, Googie, I did Romancing the Stone. That was what, like I said, that's what popped into my head on situations like this. Okay. Ander Herrera, Boca, Manchester United, and PSG. Which one is the toughest to play for?
Where's he playing now? Where is he playing now? He's not playing at United. He's not playing at PSG. He's playing at Boca Juniors. Huh? So, all right, I'm gonna give you this to Herrera, right? I'm gonna give the respect because when they interviewed Herrera, he knew the story about the trophies for Boca Juniors. He knew the players. He knew the story. He knew everything. You know, this is when you show respect for the club that you play for, because I mean, how many players know the history of the club that you play? You Google it, see a couple of things, couple of stats, last couple of years, best players, but other than, hey, what about 1978, the Copa Libertadores for Boca Juniors with Panchito Sa? No, he knew that. I was like, okay, this guy, all right, he's serious. He's not just making a lobby for the team that he's playing. But he mentioned this, right, that playing for Boca Juniors is tougher than playing for United, tougher than playing for PSG. I want to give that to PSG. I don't know about United. You can ask a couple. You can ask the Ruben Amorim to be the coach at the Manchester United. He might tell you, hey, I don't know about Boca, brother, but in United, this is crazy. What's going on in Manchester United? But he said that you saw you saw the kind of a passion that the Boca Juniors fans when they showed to the World Cup of Clubs. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say that Boca Juniors is the biggest fan base, man. I want to say it's bigger than. I think it's bigger than Real Madrid, man. Mm-hmm. I want to say in terms of fan base. You go to Egypt and you find Boca Juniors play a jersey. Man. You go to Fiji and you got Boca Juniors jersey. I don't know if they got a bean. I'm gonna bet you, man, that there's more Boca Juniors jerseys around the globe than Real Madrid. I'm gonna say that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I can't wait to see a Boca Juniors jersey in Fiji. That I'm really waiting for now that you've hit me with that one. It's our buddy Nino Torres who goes fully loaded with us on Thursdays here, 10 o'clock Eastern time. Yes, and he puts so much into this that he has to be properly hydrated because he's juggling being a master chef, hanging out with us, telling stories, and all of the things on a weekly basis here. Now, I'm saving World Cup Chronicles to last.
Yes.
I initially looked at this and I'm like, the real catastrophe, and I'm like, wait a minute. So how do I read this? The real catastrophe at Madrid looks like Stephen King's writing the 26th season, or is it the Real catastrophe? Which one is it?
You know. Yeah, it is a catastrophe, man. Stephen King was really inspired to write this script for the season, for the albums. Ousted of being trashed, not ousted, being trashed by Barcelona, then being ousted by Albacete. You don't lose to these kind of teams, man. Mm-hmm. But that's the beauty of these tournaments, of these League Cups in Europe. You see these shockers like this. You see, United getting announced. You see
Paris FC knocking out PSG the other day.
This is the beauty of these tournaments, and when you see the real underdogs, because these are truly underdogs when they're playing against these big giants in the league. But that's not this. Forget about that part because it could happen in any League Cup in any country.
Mbappe beat Braga the other day.
Oh yeah, Braga. I know. It's wild. This is the season of shockers, isn't it?
I love it.
Season of shockers. It's crazy. And also, Vitória Guimarães won their first League Cup with in Portugal. That's absolutely beautiful. Taking down Braga. But back to Real Madrid. there's Arbeloa came out and say it's all my fault. You've been in charge for 5 days, brother. How is it your fault? How is it your fault when you just take over? You should take over a few days ago, and it's your fault? No, ain't your fault. Ain't your fault. Don't. I mean, I don't buy that, brother. I don't buy that. Okay, I don't buy that even with a credit card on top installments. I'm not buying that. Okay, it's that locker room is probably, I want to say, the most toxic locker room in the planet right now. I don't know. We were talking about this last week about who's going to step into that mess. Who? I mean, obviously there are coaches out there. Hey, I won the glory with Real Madrid, but are you sure about that? You sure you want to step into this? Yeah. And Luis Enrique was saying the other day when Mbappe left, we're not playing for you. We're playing for the team. And when he left, I'm so glad because now I can play however I want with my team. And they won the Champions League when he left. So who's the poisonous guy here? Who's the bad apple? Even when it's a glorious, sensational apple that is Mbappe, but I really don't know because I've never been in a locker room with Mbappe, but there are a few stories out there that are saying that he's not that kind of leader. I'm talking about frat boys, right? Talking about frat boys. Yeah, I got all the money, I got all the chicks, I got all the skills. Play the way I want.
Well, but there was that one video that has always stuck with me with him when he was at PSG. And Luis Enrique is in front of the big board, and he's got the big projector screen up. It's got to be like this 9,000. It's not a big 55 like you and I've got. I mean, it's like a big 600.
Right.
In the training room with Mbappe, or he's in the video room with Mbappe, and he's trying to explain what he wants him to do. He's like, and he recognized to Mbappe is like, dude, I know you're, and I'm paraphrasing, obviously, you're one of the best on the planet, but I need you to help out defensively. I need you to do this, 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 and this. And he's looking at him, and it's just this impassioned speech about you can be the best in the world, bar none, but I need you to help out defensively. I need you to do this, 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 and this. And Mbappe is just kind of staring at Enrique the whole time. He's going, and just this look on his face is just like,
Yeah, we're not going through this.
And I don't know if it was just going in one ear and out the other, if it was just rattling around in there, or if he was tuned out. But, then soon he leaves PSG and goes to Real Madrid. So, I mean, is Mbappe that guy? Can he be the guy? He's a guy, that is not in dispute, but can he be the guy? And that video when he was with PSG has always stuck with me.
I don't think so. I don't think he's gonna beat him. And not only that, you also have Vini Jr. Man. You also Vini Jr. He's a prima donna guy. Bunch of prima donnas. Man, it is hard. That's what I said. They're probably the only one who could step in this locker room and show that I'm so much better than you. So don't even look at me. Do what I say because I'm Zinedine Zidane. I got 2 world, and I am better than you. I'm a legend. You okay? So, all right, these are my credentials. Go ahead and beat my credentials. You can't.
No.
So I'm the only man in the planet who can step into that locker room. I want to say.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm intrigued at the Real catastrophe, or the real catastrophe. Yeah. It is that time, sir, where we dive into the World Cup Chronicles, and we go back to 1950 and behind the scenes of the Maracanazo. Break it down.
Yes, sir. The Maracanazo is probably the one of the most beautiful stories in the World Cup, because Brazil was an absolute machine that World Cup. Man. They were destroying people, putting 7, 9, 10 goals. They got the big striker. They created that stadium. They were the almighty favorites to win that. and Uruguay came into the final, after struggling with Spain. They got the struggling with Sweden, and they got into the final. And the only thing that Brazil needed was a draw. With a draw, they were going to be crowned as a champions. Should I? You know what happened in the Maracanazo, right? You know what happened in the Maracanazo. Should I tell you now what happened in the Maracanazo? Yes, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna go backwards because usually, you leave the result by the end. No, I want to tell you what happened there. Uruguay beat Brazil 2-1 in Rio in front of 173,000 people, the largest crowd in the history of the World Cup. But this is something that you don't know. Because you know this, right? Oh, yeah, the Maracanazo, everybody knows about the Maracanazo, how they win. Yeah. But there's this story here, right? Because Brazil was already in championship mode. They were feeling like champions. They were making you feel like they were the champions already. And Uruguay was staying at the Hotel Paysandú, July 16 of 1950. Before the match at Paysandú, at Hotel Paysandú, Mr. Obdulio Varela, the captain of that glorious team, got all the newspapers from that day. The newspapers were printed, Johnny. Brazil is a champion. We're world champions. Okay, we're world champions, huh? Okay, give me those papers, man. Give me. Went to the guy on outside the hotel. You want one? No, I want 20. Give me 20 of those. Give me 20. All right. Gets all the papers. Gets into the bathroom, at the lobby. Throws all the papers on the ground, on the floor of that bathroom, and grabs a chalk and writes in the mirror, "Pee and step on these papers." And he goes out there and gets all the teammates saying, "I want everybody to go into that bathroom, read what it says on the mirror, and do as he says." Yes, Captain. Every single one by one, step into that bathroom, saw the message, saw the papers, and they did it, right? Of course, the entire team pee and step on the papers, and they got it done. And that's how. And this is where one of the in Spanish is where the phrase was created. When they step into the Maracaná, 173,000 people. Los de afuera son de palo, which means the ones in the stands doesn't count. Something like that, right? Something like that. All that people, they're dummies. Think of their dummies. They don't count. They don't play. It's 11 versus 11. That's how we get it done. Let's go out there and beat these guys. And boom, they got it done.
And we always wrap up these stories with this.
Now you know the rest of the story.
That's our buddy Paul Harvey.
Nice.
As always, my friend, thanks for dropping by. I love these stories that you give us to wrap up everything when you go fully loaded. And for those that want to listen to your content, make sure that they follow you on all of the Twitters and the socials and everything, because you're dropping a bunch of great content for Spanish-speaking audiences all week long. As always, my friend, it's great to see you. Get to baking, man, because I want to see more pictures of all of this chocolate that you're blowing up the world with, and so I can gain another 5 pounds between now and when we see each other next week.
Yes, I will, but I'm going to dive into the oven right now. I got probably a good 6-7 hours of baking ahead of me and the rest of the day, so it's going to be fun. Thank you, guys, for listening to me. Thank you, Johnny. We'll see you next week, guys. Take care.
You got it, my friend. That's Nino Torres. And Nino is our resident storyteller to give those stories that you never get to understand, or maybe you heard something about it, but you didn't hear the whole thing. We get to have him go full circle when we have Nino come in and go fully loaded with us on Thursdays, 10 o'clock Eastern time. It's always a blast. And like I said, follow Nino the Baker on the gram or the IG or the Insta, whatever the kids call it these days, because you get to see Nino in the kitchen. And we mean it when we say Nino's cooking. We mean that both figuratively here and literally when you look at him at Nino the Baker on Insta, the gram, or the IG. And I mean, dude is dropping. Literally, you could gain weight by looking at everything that he is doing with his desserts. And so a couple weeks ago, when we caught him on a different day because of holidays and such, he got to give us the tour of like the bakeries that he's dropping the stuff off at. And then he gave us the tour of the sunshiny day in Lima, Peru, as he was dropping off all of his Nino the Baker's baked goods. Not jealous or nothing. Not gonna gain like 5 pounds just staring at the stuff. So I mean, it is fun to see him spread his wings like this. I shudder to think how many pounds we're going to gain by looking at these kinds of things, but it's always great to catch up with our buddy Nino Torres. And so now we go from Lima, Peru, and we go to Seattle, Washington, or the suburbs therein, and the home of the Providence and Swedish 5-minute oil change, bouncy house, and voter registration platform. To catch up with our buddy Niko Moreno. Look, check it. Look at him. He's sitting there and he's styling. He's doing his thing. He's getting ready for us. As always, my friend, it is great to see you. How are you with the lovely background there, sir? Oh, with the Pulso Sports background, too. Check that out. Okay.
Yeah, what's going on, John? SDH family, happy to be on as always. It is a wonderful Thursday out here in the PNW. We've had our first week of training with the Sounders. We got our first look at the group, at the players, and it's been pretty interesting to say the least. A lot of stuff going on around MLS, and of course, always happy to see you. We are in the cup number 2 of Joe with the Coug Cup, because today the Cougs will take on Gonzaga in basketball.
Oh, wow.
Should be fun.
Wow. Pullman v. Spokane, Battle of the Palouse. That's major. The Tupac going up against Gonzaga. That's going to be a fun one. So that's going to be Nico after dark. He's going to be paying attention to that one.
That's right.
we got a lot of stuff to get into. So I'll go ahead. I'll bite. So how was the first couple of availabilities up there at Providence and Swedish, as everyone is trying to figure out what it's going to look like in 26? What was it looking like for you up there?
Well, look, definitely we got a sense of a team that is on the path to build from the success of last season and not from the disappointments of last season. Brian Schmetzer, during our first availability, said that he had some clips of that playoff loss to the team prior to, the first official training. He talked about a team that needs to hold himself more accountable, which I thought was pretty cool. I thought Brian Schmetzer really hit something on there. He talked about having those leaders on the field, those leaders of the past, the Nico Loderos, the Roman Torreses, and who were going to be the guys in this group that were going to hold others accountable, and they were going to be, leader voices in this locker room. So look, I thought that Brian Schmetzer was spot on to phrase it that way, to emphasize on that. I think I even said it in the show. I thought last year there was a need for a louder voice on the field, and for those captains to maybe in moments where things were getting dicey, where, like we say in Spanish, cuando las papas queman, when the potatoes are burning, when things get hot, you need someone to really be a leader out there. So I thought that was a great point of emphasis. I asked him, playing in simple, what are some of the things he was going to work on this season? Definitely, defense is one of them. I asked Christian Roldan the same thing yesterday. What's the biggest point of emphasis going into this Marbella and Portugal preseason? And he said we have to go back to being that defensive team of 2024. He said it's great that we score more goals. It was great that we're more offensive, but at the end of the day, we got to be better defensively, better in transition defense. So when it comes to the mentality, when it comes to the mindset, I feel like this team was spot on. Now, while we observed during this couple of days of training, it's also interesting, man. Look, they got a couple of young kids that they just signed, Yutza Kanome and Santiago Gomez. Santiago Gomez has been the one that stood out the most in this last 3 days. Very good on the ball, creative, a player that's really going to be giving you a lot to think about when you're chasing a goal and maybe you want him to get some minutes. So that was very interesting. But the biggest highlight for me is that the top players, the leaders of this team, at least when it comes to the top salary guys, those guys came to play. Look, Albert Rusnak looks like a guy that's out there looking for a spot. Like he's a guy that maybe might not be a starter or something. I mean, he's on your side or my side.
I don't. Well, go ahead and pick it up. Whatever happened, you got it.
Look, Albert Rusnak looks like a guy out there that is on a tryout or something. I mean, he is chasing every ball. He is defending. He is taking those condensed field drills and making them his own, just putting shots right and left. And I like to see that. I love to see that from Albert, right? Your highest paid player, a guy that should be one of the faces of the team, and he's out there on day one and day two of training, just lights out all over. Jesus Ferreira, same thing, chasing balls, pressing, being a guy that is leading traffic. Yemer Gomez Andrade, another guy that just seems to be very into the workouts immediately. So those are the players. Jordan Morris, another player that has been very good during this first couple of days of training. So when I see the example being set, but those top players, it makes me feel like everybody has the right idea.
Sukunome signed through 26 with an option for 27 and 28. And Sebastian Gomez signs as a homegrown through 29 with a club option for 30. So they could be in-house for a while, so we'll see what happens there. I know that those of us sickos that got to spend some time taking a look at MLS Next Pro, we got to see what Sukunome could bring to the table, and to me anyway, it seemed like it was just going to be a matter of time before he was going to get those first team reps and those first team ops. From the younger players' perspective, from those dudes that popped in last year that have always been a part of the DNA of Seattle. You know that the players that come through from academy, they're going to get their reps in Tacoma, then they're going to get their spots with Seattle, then they're going to get more minutes in Seattle, then they're going to stay. The younger guys from last year, whether we're talking KKR or whomever, who do you think is going to be the next one in that succession plan that is going to be the younger guy that gets even more minutes in 26, challenging for a lot of first team minutes? Who are those? Is it just going to be one dude? Is it multiple guys? Who do you think is going to be taking that next step as the young talent that's being brought up through the system for Seattle here in 26?
Oh, that's a great question, because these two guys that they just signed, especially a guy like Sebastian Gomez, would be that guy who I was thinking of that was going to be getting into the first team, and he gets his contract already. But I think Peter Kingston is one that definitely has made a lot of first team practices. He's a player that I constantly hear players talk about. Actually, just on Wednesday or yesterday, there was like a little tournament of 9v9, and he was one of those guys that you're like, oh, hey, look, Peter Kingston's really out there, working with that 9v9 team. And so I think he's one guy that certainly could get a lot more minutes. Tino Lopez is one that that I have been very high on, that I thought that should be getting first team minutes. And if there is a move within the Sounders first team players in that defense, I think Tino Lopez could be a player that can get a lot of minutes. And I'm saying this because I have been on record and I have been very vocal about Nuhu being a player that could potentially move, because he's an attractive player. He is obviously someone that is getting a lot of interest, and he's playing in a big showcase like he did with AFCON, being the Cameroon captain. So if like a Nuhu was to leave and the Sounders were to need someone to replace him, I think Tino Lopez would be a guy that as a center back can play that position, because I do believe that whether it's left back or wing back, with Reed Baker Whiten and with Paul Arriola, I feel like the team feels like they have some good players to place there. So when it comes to the center back, I think Tino Lopez would be one that'd be very interesting. But of the young players that are with the first team already and that maybe just got their last season, Snyder Burnell for me is gonna be the guy to watch. Even though that center midfield looks very convoluted. I mean, it is a group with a lot of players. I mean, Seattle just went out there and picked up on loan Nikola Petkovic, which obviously he finally arrived. We haven't got to see him play too much. He did was full on training yesterday, but when you have him, when you have obviously Hassani Dotson, you got Christian Roldan, Obed Vargas. I think the Snyder Burnell is going to be a guy that, especially if Obed leaves in this winter window, can be getting a lot more minutes. He's a guy that Brian Smester rates very high. So he's another of these young guys to watch going into this 2026 season.
Our buddy Niko Moreno from Pulso Sports and Sounder at Heart dropping by, starting our look around the league as we always do here Thursdays at 10:30 Eastern time. There are a lot of different players that we can discuss because you've got all of these plot lines and stories and everything. We can go to, and I will leave it up to you. We can go to Vancouver. We can go to San Jose. We can go to Nashville via San Jose. We can go to Houston, or we can go choice E, someplace that I haven't thought of. I know that I want to hit all of these, but is there any one that you want to hit first?
I guess we could start with the big names there in San Jose.
Okay, so apparently, and we talked about Christian Espinosa going from San Jose to Nashville. And it appears, it has been said publicly, and I doubt very seriously that San Jose is going to openly admit to this, but apparently San Jose did an oopsie, and that this is not a good kind of an oopsie. Apparently, and this was put out into the ether by Landon Donovan and confirmed by Ben Wright in the 615, that apparently someone in San Jose who was supposed to file the paperwork that they were going to exercise the option on picking up the option for Christian Espinosa did not file that paperwork, which meant then that Espinosa was a free agent and he was snapped up quickly by Nashville. Then on the back end of that, it appears that there are discussions with Timo Werner's people about Timo Werner coming over to San Jose. I don't know where Espinosa is concerned, if the truth is somewhere in the middle, that they just kind of let it lapse or whatever because they were in the Timo Werner discussions. I don't know what the actual truth of that is. But at the end of the day, Christian Espinosa, one of your playmakers here in the league, is no longer in San Jose, and I don't even want to know what Bruce Arena said behind closed doors because we're probably hitting the bleep button about every 2.5 seconds from what Bruce was thinking about this. What does your spidey senses tell you about Espinosa leaving San Jose, then going to be a free agent, and then heading to Nashville?
Yeah, I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle, and it feels like a situation, in my humble opinion, that I think San Jose tried to eat their cake and have it too. Is that the right reference there? I think that they definitely wanted to explore. They absolutely wanted to keep Espinosa, but they didn't want to commit right off the bat. So when things aren't really clear on who they're going to get, or if Espinosa is going to want to stay now that you made a mistake and all of a sudden he's a free agent, he can go talk to people and you're telling him, hey, Christian, things kind of didn't go our way and we forgot to just, dot this I and cross this T, and you're a free agent, but we want you back, right?
Yeah.
And so it is a situation in which I think the team was trying to see what was out there, and they delayed things, and they end up letting go of one of the most reliable creative players in the MLS. And so for me, it is a situation where, regardless of how it happened, I do think that both club and player were ready for a new beginning, right? I mean, Christian Espinosa has been with San Jose such a long time, and it hasn't panned out. He's been great, and he's put this team uh, he's putting this team in the playoffs. He's made a team exciting and all of these things, but he hasn't quite won. Now with Nashville, he can do that. He can go to a team that is it's a proven team that is a contender in the East, and now he gets to play there. And then in terms of San Jose, now they get to be obligated to maybe change things up and be a little bit more ambitious and try to just kind of gamble a little bit to in an attempt to correct their mistake. They have to go for a guy like Barrio, right? And now we'll see if they can secure him, and we'll see how much they're going to pay him, and if that ends up cementing itself into the reality. And if it does, then what sort of form is he in? And is he going to be a guy that I do believe is going to be successful in MLS? I think that he's been a player that through his career is a great pressing player. I think that physically, I don't expect him to be. Maybe he's lost a step. Let's put it that way. And even with losing a step, he's going to be a guy in double digits goals and in contributions, maybe 15, 16, 17 goal contributions. That makes this team better. But there is that other side of the coin. What if it doesn't happen that way? What if he doesn't quite adapt to San Jose and the San Jose club lifestyle and Chicho Arango? How are those two gonna coexist, and how are they gonna play? It feels like on paper it works, but at least I'm glad that San Jose was able to feel the need to go out there and get a player of this category. And it's not every day that we see or hear San Jose in this side of the news cycle. So it is a positive. So that's why I do believe that it was time for a change in San Jose. And I think it is a time for a change and a good situation for Christian Espinosa.
And what I am kind of keeping in my hip pocket in all of this is the idea that where Nashville is concerned, where Espinosa, yes, it can be looked at one of two ways. Espinosa to Nashville can be the hashtag the Schaff replacement, because of Schaffelberg heading west. And obviously that's an improvement there. So you could have in one universe Espinosa, Surridge, Mukhtar. But at the same time, and I just double checked it while we were discussing Espinosa and Nashville, this also could be protection for BJ Callahan because Wolves is sniffing around for Sam Surridge. And there are other teams in the English Championship that are sniffing around for Sam Surridge as well. And Wolves is trying to figure out what they're going to do if they lose a Jurgen Strand-Larsen. So is it, once again, you could look at this one of two ways. Is it making sure that you've got insurance if Wolves step up to the plate and offer Nashville SC a boatload of money for Surridge, the offer that they can't refuse? Or is it the three-headed monster? And so I want folks to keep that in mind as well, that Espinosa to Nashville could either be, yes, a three-headed monster or insurance in case someone comes with a big paycheck for Sam Surridge to leave and go back to Europe.
I honestly think that Nashville's front office and BJ Callahan are more concerned with winning this season than getting a payday for Sam Surridge. And again, that's with no insight at all. But when I look at the trajectory of what Nashville has done since they got into MLS, last season is the one time where you kind of felt like, man, this team is different. They have a chance. They play exciting. They've been playing well the entire season. And once you get a bit of a taste of what it is to feel like a team that is starting to be in headlines and your fan base is getting excited because they're so good, you want to keep that train going. And BJ Callahan is a winner. He's always been. He wants to be a guy that's going to have a great season. So I think if you ask BJ, hey, we have X amount of money, a irrefusable offer for Sam Surridge, but we don't know we're going to get you a guy right away. Maybe it's going to be in the summer window. I think BJ is going to be like, can we just hold him for next season? Let me have one chance at this three-headed monster. Let me see how it works out. And if he is as great as I think it is, I think we're better off just having a great season than just selling him right off the bat. So even with the irrefutable type of offer, I do think that BJ Callahan and Nashville would rather have, let's call it, a chance at a MLS final than getting a payday for Sam Surge. So that might not be the case, but that's just the way I see it.
Okay. Tristan Blackman, soap opera, Dos Mujeres, Un Camino. We could get into that, or we could get into Ache and version 2.0 in Houston. Where do you want to go next?
No, we could go to Houston, but let me say this last thing about Timo Werner. Obviously, we've seen this sort of hype before with a guy like Insigne. Now, I don't want to compare those two at all, but when I hear a lot of the narratives of what he's going to come in and do, and how this is the greatest thing since saltines to kind of hit the market, I just say let's keep the expectations where they are. It's still San Jose, and that's no disrespect. I'm just saying that there is a lot of other gaps that San Jose needs to do, and Timo Werner at this time of his career, he can only do so much. So I like that pairing up top. I think Chicho can coexist with Timo, especially because Timo does the things that Chicho doesn't in terms of pressing and pushing and running behind defenses. And Chicho Arango has at times played the false nine and has been a good distributor and can get behind. So I think it could work, but there's a lot of other elements that I think need to come together for San Jose to be a good team. So let's go to Houston, where I think it'd be interesting how much and how effective Bogut's can be if they get it done with Cruz Azul. Look, Houston is really loading up, and I appreciate that. Houston's fan base has been in dire need for an exciting team. I think that the potential of bringing back, no, it's already official, bringing back Ache, I think it's a good move. It gives you leadership, gives you a guy that can have some magical moments. He's a guy that's going to be able to distribute and do a lot of things. But mainly this team just adding on defense. The kid from Botafogo escapes my mind. I think that's important. Obviously, if they can get Bogut's, I thought that in Liga MX, he was a little bit inconsistent. I'll admit that he had some injury concerns and things, but I do remember the high ceiling that Bogut's has. And if they are able to bring him in from Cruz Azul, I think Houston's going to be a team to watch in the West.
Logan Erb in goal, added from NC State. Reese Miller, defender from Virginia. Agustin Buzat from Sarsfield via transfer.
That's another good one.
Lucas Halter was the defender you were trying to think of from Botafogo.
Yes.
Guilherme from Santos on a transfer, and then Ache on a free, which helps out. Social media response in the community in Houston has been mixed. They remember the exit, and they remember that individual in a key situation not behaving well on the pitch, and that has come up as a part of this as well. To your point, also to counteract that, yes, you're bringing Ache back. You know what he can bring to the table, what he has in the past, but how has the year and a half away, how has that impacted him? Where are his steps? Is he a step slow? Has he reinvented himself? I think those are the questions for Houston. But yeah, to your point, Buzat in the midfield, Halter on defense, Guilherme from Santos, and Ache. That's four big swings that the front office is taking in Houston.
Yeah, look, and Guilherme is a very interesting player. I think that he does give them a lot of what they were missing last season, which is another creative player, another guy that can create chances that can be hard to defend. I do think that what happens with Linger is going to be interesting. Did he underperform last season? I think so, especially for the commitment of money that you put in there. Where can this team move on, and how they're able to um, play Ben Olsen style soccer? It's all part of what Houston has been held back by. But I really do like the acquisitions. On paper, they're a lot better. And with how much shifting there has been in the West, I would not be surprised if Houston is the Minnesota of this season.
Okay. Vancouver, we don't know what we don't know. Tristan Blackman, and we have had the discussions back and forth. You've got Michelle Kaufman with the Herald. You've got Tommy Scoops, Tom Bogert, who have been saying that, yes, it's a done deal, that he's going to be a part of Messi and Friends, and then no, he's not. He's re-upping in Vancouver, and then Tristan Blackman doesn't show up for the first day of training camp as he's trying to get a new deal. Once again, I think that you might have two folks who are right at that particular moment in time, but for a team that is up for sale still, for a team that did as well as it did, getting to the last game of the year in 2025, and having one of your big names at the back that is a part of a discussion, a league-wide discussion as to where he's going or is he not going anywhere. Tristan Blackman is definitely one of those bolts or those fulcrums that you've got to look at and figure out, okay, if he stays, then it means X for Vancouver. If he goes, it means X for Messi and Friends, and then Y for Vancouver. And so I'm intrigued as to how Tristan Blackman's saga is going to evolve as we go forward here in training camp.
Yeah, it feels like with the amount of reporting that's behind it, and with how quick Vancouver at some point was there to like deny that there was anything done, and they just said done. I'm pretty sure that it's gonna get pushed through, and I do think that as much as Tristan Blackman is a very good defender, and with Vancouver they were always better. Jasper Sorensen in Vancouver throughout the whole season, regardless of what they had to do in the back end and how they had to shore up when there was injuries and problems, they were able to keep it together. But you do lose a leadership role there, and I never like a team that is where they are because of the collective losing this many pieces. And we don't need to go back and go over those same guys. But, can those that are staying in, Cabrera, Savi, obviously Mueller, can all those guys kind of try to keep the fun going? Kuba's another guy that apparently is not leaving anymore. So that's a good thing for Vancouver. But I do worry that this team has lost a lot of elements in every single line, even just players that were coming off the bench and being sort of spark plugs coming off the bench. That's when I worry about a team like Vancouver. But I do think that, look, Inter Miami is a situation where they feel like they have another win now type of season, and they seem to be the big dog at the yard, just recruiting whoever they want, and everybody wants to be part of that posse. So Tristan, it's a good move. I think that he's going to help out that Inter Miami saga. So all in all, I think Vancouver has taken the bigger hit. And regardless of what Jasper Sorensen can do with the way that he can move the elements that he does have as part of this team, there's going to be a gap. There's going to be a void. And I don't see how Vancouver doesn't have to, in January, end of January and early February, get very busy to try to fill in, to shore up some of his absences.
A couple of things that have hit the wires while we've been talking. It looks like Sporting Kansas City, in addition to bringing in Rafa Vicky as their new head coach, they signed free agent forward Calvin Harris, 11 plus 10 in his MLS career. So he is now a part of Sporting Kansas City in their first week of training camp. FC Cincinnati has also officially now acquired Brian Ramirez from Liga de Quito, 25-year-old Ecuadorian winger, pending receipt of the P1 visa and his ITC contract through 28-29 with an option for 29-30. Over 100 professional appearances with LDU Quito, 10 plus 17 in his time there. And it was 7+6 in 49 appearances last season, leading Liga de Quito to the semis of Libertadores, their best finish since 2008. So the 5'8", 25-year-old winger is now transferred from LDU Quito from the Ecuadorian League, once again pending receipt of the P1 visa and the ITC, through 28-29 with an option for 29-30. Is there anybody else in the last week that has struck your radar that you want to talk about before we send you to cup of coffee number 3, sir?
Not necessarily, but I would like to say that maybe when you look at LAFC, and I hear so many people talk about how underwhelming this transfer window has been, and they picked up Tyler Boyd, and that's not a type of LAFC signing. I think that LAFC is working on a couple of things that people maybe are not seeing. And I do feel like there is going to be at least one more big player that LAFC is going to be able to bring in. But when you get a guy like Son and you have a guy like Buanga, I think you're pretty good. I mean, you can't go out there and get and break, the market every single year. So they're going to build on what they had. I do think that this is going to be a very good transition team. So don't sleep on LAFC simply because they haven't been getting all these big name players. Now, there are some moves that I didn't necessarily love. And obviously with Shuffleberg being hurt, that's going to be something that's going to, we're going to have to figure out. But I do think that LAFC, regardless of what people are criticizing, I think that they know what they have in store. They know what they have in their roster, and they're just going to want to see where that's going and maybe have one more big piece. But I'm not sleeping on LAFC, regardless of how people are seeing and are expecting from this club.
You mentioned Schaffelberg. Obviously, he's going to be rehabbing I think it was a sports hernia injury, if I remember correctly. They brought in Cabral Carter for MLS Next Pro. Matt Evans, they signed him as a homegrown. You mentioned Tyler Boyd. Then also they brought in, and this one was sneaky. Jason has always been a fan of Mathieu Choinière. And Choinière coming in on a permanent transfer from Grasshopper, another move, another good piece for LAFC to keep an eye on. And yes, they did. They lose officially Luca Bombino, Baluta, Odin Thiago Holm on the loan expiring. Jailson, he might be coming back into the league. We'll get into that in a second. David Ochoa gone, Saldana gone, Frankie Amaya, his loan has expired as well. All right, what else is going on at Sounder at Heart and Pulso Sports? Because I know that you'll be reporting next week live from Marbella to let us know what's going on with the Seattle Sounders as they're taking everything over there by storm. What's the latest?
I wish I'm still figuring out if I go to Marbella, and just because he said that actually the team is going to Portugal first, and then they'll end up in Marbella. I am considering going to Marbella. I just have to try to figure out if I can pull it off. But it's going to be more in February, so I'm still trying to see if I can swing it. But regardless of, you could definitely find all of the information that we'll have at least for this week. With Sounder Hard, we're going to be getting together with Jeremiah to drop the very first what we learned this week. You do not want to miss that. We're going to be breaking down who are the standouts, what are we thinking about these new players, what have we seen from a guy like Nikola Petsevic, how could that look like? We might have some news that might be brewing of some players. We're going to try to see if there's any updates on Obed. So go ahead and check that out Friday for sure. Jeremiah and I on the Sounder Ahad Podcast Network, as well as Sounder Ahad YouTube channel. On Monday, we'll, of course, be with Ari Lillenwald doing Lobby Scorchers to break down league as a whole, but obviously we always focus on what happens with the Seattle Sounders. And I will have a lot of very interesting interviews on Pulso Sports. So whoever I talk to this week, I'm looking for maybe a Jesus Ferreira, maybe an Obed Vargas, just as an exclusive for Pulso Sports. So go ahead and check that out. You don't want to miss out on any of that information.
What he said, our friend Niko Moreno joining us during his second cup of coffee here on Thursdays with Niko. As always, my friend, it's great to see you. Great to get the intel from the Western Conference and get your thoughts on everything on the whole. We will catch up with you again next week. Stay warm. Enjoy Gonzaga and Wazoo tonight. And, man, you might need to get a nap in just to make sure that you're there for that full time. As always, my friend, great to see you. We will catch up with you next week.
Have a good one, guys.
There we go. There goes Nico with his cup of coffee. Gonzaga and Wazoo. That's going to be crazy. That's going to be a big one. Okay, let's take the tour and let you know what else is going on. Morning Pars, by the way. Glad you're back. I know that your Aston Villa have been doing well for you here. We will ask, and so 1:30, we will ask if now this is the first I've heard of this. So PDV in Atlanta. I know that it had been kind of kicked about last year a little bit. And this would be the first for me to see anything this year involving Pedro de la Vega and Atlanta. So let me see where, if my fat fingers could type, it ended up as Odro de la Vega. Pedro de la Vega, Atlanta. Because I know that there was stuff last year that was being reported during deadlines and such. Let me see if there's anything new. So, yeah, so back in July, Nico had mentioned that Pedro de la Vega, it was an opportunity where Atlanta was looking at PDV. So is there anything late on activity? So I don't see anything recent in 2026 about PDV and Atlanta United. That doesn't mean there isn't anything going on, because at the same time, we always say that one of the attributes of Atlanta United and their front office is that they are team no leaks. So usually anything involving any kind of player activity is coming from the outside in. It is not coming from inside out. The conversations that were being had last week, a couple of weeks back, involving Elias Baez from San Lorenzo coming to Atlanta United, all inbound. Nothing outbound. Nothing from Team No Leaks about anything involving Elias Baez and San Lorenzo at all. Nothing there. So if there's anything from PDV, on PDV involving Atlanta United, check your sources, check your sources, check your sources. First and foremost, the 2 months out of the year, the transfer windows are really, it's more like the 2 months involving Major League Soccer. But usually the 4 or 5 months involving transfers, check your sources, check your sources, check your sources. So 13 OMR or 130 OMR, I can't tell if that's a 0 or a 1 or a 0 or an O, but 13, I haven't seen anything in 2026 about it. Like I said, Nico mentioned it back in July of last year. Have not heard any kind of an update or a redo or a re-kicking of the tires involving Pedro de la Vega. David has a question about ITCs and visas, and can't quite figure out what work visas are affected in this day and age, and this will change the countries MLS can sign players from. Don't know. But David, when it comes to signing players, we have lawyers and legal groups attached to clubs that if your lawyers are very nimble, you can get things done. If the visas themselves are costing 6 figures now as opposed to 5 figures, where can you pull in those funds? Is it something that can be done easily? And trying to figure out where you can pull folks from. And I think that you do present, David, an interesting test case and probably some empirical evidence that we need to kind of keep an eye on when it comes to the next handful of years. Where are the players coming from? Where are they going to? The evidence of, okay, where are these inbound players and inbound transfers coming from when it comes to Major League Soccer on the whole? And is it easier to navigate visas with country X as opposed to country Y, or is it just navigating visas in general? And how do you figure out which ones are which countries are easier, or is it all just difficult, or is it all navigable? Which one of the 3 beds is it? Is it massively hard across the board? Is it massively easy across the board? Is it country by country? And then do you cater your demands in that direction? So I think that it's an interesting test case going forward, looking at what you can get, what you do get, and where it comes from. So it's an interesting question, David. So can we put can we put a tab in, or can we put like a bookmark there or a tab in the chapter or whatever? Can we sit there and mark that and just kind of keep an eye on it so we can have empirical evidence going forward? So that's an interesting question for everything going forward. The NWSL has announced their 2026 schedule. So that is something to keep an eye on. So regular season schedule has been announced for the NWSL. So regular season, 30-match home is mid-March. So that second full week of March, it looks like, is going to be the beginning of it all. Regular season, obviously, breaking in June. And the final match of the first half of the season, May 31st. So it looks like you have a March through May sprint, March, April, May. So 10 weeks. They take a break, and then they pick things back up July 4th-ish. And then that's when you go. And so then you go July 4th for the all the way through November 1st. And NWSL has partnerships with ION, NWSL Plus, Victory Plus, CBS Sports Network, and Prime Video. And The Courage have one on CBS season finale on one of ESPN's channels as that works its way forward. So NWSL schedule is out, and it looks like that the championship, the NWSL Challenge Cup, is going to be held in Columbus. It's going to be in Columbus, Ohio, at the Death Star in beautiful downtown Columbus. So the Challenge Cup, June 26th, between Current and Gotham. The Super Cup matchup is the first NWSL competition in Columbus, 8 o'clock Eastern time, Friday, June 26th. So it is Kansas City, Current, and Gotham, Friday, June 26th, 8 o'clock from the Death Star in Columbus, and is basically the Super Copa for the NWSL. The Challenge Cup, league title winners from the previous year. So you're going to have that one. That one's going to be in Columbus, and that one was announced this past hour as well. So keep an eye on that. Okay, so let's get into the players that we might not necessarily have gotten into when it comes to the discussion with Niko. Cesar Luis Merlo this morning, busy, and you remember that Niko mentioned Mateusz Bogusz. And so keep an eye on the Bogusz situation. Merlo, within the hour, has said that Bogusz is very close to being sold to the Houston Dynamo, who offered $6 million fixed and $4 million in variables. That's the translation from Cesar Luis Merlo. So multi-million-dollar deal, very close to leaving Cruz Azul for a permanent transfer to Houston. Super Deportivo reports a final offer of $6 million plus another $4 million in performance-related bonuses. And the club's management is currently working on the final elements of the deal. Sources close to the deal, talks between the two clubs progressing positively. Confidence the transfer will be finalized. Dynamo want to bring him in as a reinforcement for 26. Cruz Azul would welcome the transfer, given the player's desire to continue his career in the United States. Back on the 6th, Super Deportivo revealed Dynamo made a formal offer of $6 million plus performance bonuses and a percentage and a sell-on. And Cruz Azul was like, okay, cool, that's a good starting point. So 39 matches for Cruz Azul since the Clausura for Bogusz, 3 + 7. And it was written by Merlo. However, his continued presence at the club became uncertain in recent weeks. Absence during preseason training for the Clausura. And Super Deportivo reported in recent hours player would rejoin the squad. Return comes amid talks with Dynamo and reinforces the possibility his departure is imminent. Transfer could be finalized in the coming days, marking the end of Bogusz's time at Cruz Azul. So that, once again, is translated, but it looks like it's $6 million flat from Houston, plus another $4 million in incentives. No word on if there's a sell-on fee. So if the sell-on fee was disagreed, or one side said yeah, the other side says no, Cruz Azul's like, no, we don't want to do we don't want to do that. So, or Houston says they don't want to do that, so then they add the 4. So it looks like it's $6 million flat for Bogusz, according to Cesar Luis Merlo, and then another 4 in performance-based metrics going forward. So it could be 6, could be as high as 10 when it comes to Cesar Luis Merlo and what he is looking at for that particular transaction. Okay, now Portland. We mentioned Javido. Javido Del Rosan, Portland in talks to sign the former Club America winger. He spent time with LAFC last year on loan. Has played in the Bundesliga League in the Eredivisie before going to Mexico. So keep an eye on that one with Portland. Tristan Blackman, once again, we talked about that. No agreement is imminent, according to Tommy Scoops. This one was interesting. Houston Dynamo agreed to a deal to sign Nick Marcanic from CD Castellón. Vicente Perez was first to report this. The loan with a purchase option. Marcanic, remember, 2 years ago set the USL Championship single-season record for goals with the Charleston Battery. So keep an eye on that. Noah Allen apparently is a wanted individual from Messi and friends, Ghent and Panathinaikos. No bids yet, but one to watch, he says, in the next 12 months. And so, so we'll keep an eye on that one going forward. All right, so let's check in with our buddy Ben Jacobs and find out what's going on there and see if anything has happened during the show that we need to keep an eye on going forward. We mentioned yesterday Fenerbahce and N'Golo Kante. Fenerbahce is set to formally approach Al Ittihad for N'Golo Kante after positive talks on the player's side. Al Ittihad's plan has always been to keep him until summer, but the Saudi side is going to analyze the formal offer, see if it makes financial sense. Conceicao has told Kante he wants him to stay, but the French midfielder is open to Fenerbahce should Al Ittihad decide to sanction an exit. Club-to-club negotiations viewed as the harder part of the proposed deal by Fenerbahce, as Kante has shown a willingness to join. We mentioned the Facundo Buonanotte loan. Leeds confirmed that Buonanotte is joining Brighton on loan until the end of the season after being recalled from Chelsea. Romain Favre from Bournemouth that has been recalled from his loan spell with Al Tawoun and is now going to join Auxerre till the end of the season to try to keep them afloat in Ligue 1 because they're at the bottom of the table and currently in the relegation fight. Mohamed Kader Maite is on the radar of Al Hilal, and he's also been tracked by Premier League clubs. Rennes' priority is to extend Kader Maite and making the contract for a January exit difficult unless an important proposal walks in the door. Scottish forward Robbie Ure is drawing interest from an Allsvenskan side for about $1.5 million. Bournemouth have made an inquiry on 19-year-old Vasco da Gama attacker Ryan, according to Mark McAdam. Also being tracked by Monaco and Dortmund as they're looking for a long-term replacement for Antoine Semenyo. Sunderland's Dan Neal's drawing interest this winter. West Ham, Coventry, Sheffield United, and Rangers. As Cologne is also interested. He is a free agent in the summer. Spurs have hired John Heitinga as an assistant coach to Thomas Frank. So you get to add him to the sidelines. Let's see. We mentioned Buonanotte. Spurs confirm also that Carlos Rafael Morrison has joined from City Football Group as Director of Football Operations, a newly created role for Spurs. Let's see. We mentioned that one. Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Glazers are in Manchester for the club's latest executive committee meeting. Decision is made to stage the meeting in Manchester and not Monaco, so the owners can also meet Michael Carrick and minimize disruption ahead of the Manchester derby. I would have thought that maybe even being in Manchester for the weekend of the Manchester derby would also be kind of a disruption, but I digress. Okay, really quickly, let's get through. Let me see if there's any other gossip, rumor, and innuendo that we might have missed going forward, and we will check if there's anything new and or different. Atletico de Madrid want Joao Gomes from Wolves. I think everybody's going to be kind of kicking the tires on Wolves players, considering that they are well on their way to being relegated. After Madrid sold Conor Gallagher to Spurs, they're looking to chase after Joao Gomes. Wanderers Zimbabwe midfielder Marshall Munetsi poised to join Paris FC on loan. That's from L'Equipe. Everton have sent an official bid to Fenerbahce for En-Nesyri. We talked about him at the beginning of the show. This is from our friend Fabrizio Romano. Negotiations underway for an initial loan move with a 17 million pound option to buy. Forest are also in the race for En-Nesyri, but Fenerbahce's feeling is that he favors a move to Everton. That's from Florian Plettenberg. Everton also interested in a deal for Callum Wilson, who wants to end his contract with West Ham. Toffees, along with Werder Bremen and Ajax. Did you see Ajax got absolutely destroyed the other day in cup play? I don't know why anybody would want to go to Ajax currently. Everton, along with Werder Bremen and Ajax, monitoring Ukraine right back Yukim Konoplia. Contract with Shakhtar Donetsk expires in the summer. West Ham is going to hold an internal meeting with shareholders to discuss lowering the asking price for Lucas Paquetá, who is wanted by Flamengo. Remember, 40 million euro was turned down. Sousa expected to finalize the Tottenham medical and they deal for 13 million pounds to sign the Brazilian left back. Looks like that's going to be working its way through. Brentford closing in on a deal just under 16 million pounds for Lazio attacker Matteo Cancellieri. That's from Gazzetta dello Sport. Crystal Palace are in talks once again with Angers over Siddiqui Sharif. We mentioned that yesterday. Now Crystal Palace is on the clock. Roma's going to pay a $2 million loan fee for Daniel Malin. Deal including a 25 million clause to sign him on a permanent basis. Once again, it's Fabrizio Romano. Bournemouth, where they could face a fight to hang on to Alex Scott. United, City, Villa, Newcastle. Ross Barkley is being inquired upon by Sheffield United from Aston Villa. And I'm trying to see if there are any other names that are on the board. Doesn't look like there are names on the board that are going forward. Okay. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Once again, you do that at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Go to that website. It is important because you go to and you hit that website. It helps you out. It helps them out. It helps us out. And it adds to all of the streaming that you've got. And you can add more leagues to what's going on in your universe. You get BN, home of AFCON, TSA, matches Argentina, a lot of matches across South America, all in one place, one subscription, one home, fntz.co/soccer down here. FS2 has the league that we don't talk about at 12:30. Fox Deportes has Serie A at 12:30. And also the league that we don't talk about at 12:30. Verona and Bologna. Say that 10 times fast. That's on Fox Deportes. ESPN Plus, Melbourne City, Newcastle, Western City, and Brisbane. Bundesliga's at 2:20, Augsburg and Union Berlin. FoxSports.com has more action from the league we don't talk about, and they have Serie A at 12:30 with Cremonese and Jamie Vardy taking on Cagliari. Paramount Plus has a doubleheader in Serie A, Verona, Bologna at 12:30, Como and Milan at 2:45. Okay, I'm trying to see if there's anything else that we might have missed here. I think David Schnegg has been claimed off of waivers for Charlotte FC. Chicago Fire and Kellen Acosta mutually terminate their contract. John Gallagher signed a contract extension with Austin FC. Anders Dreyer has signed a contract extension with San Diego. And we mentioned Tyler Boyd and Ache. Once again, remember, tomorrow, in addition to going more in-depth with Atlanta United and the press conferences that were had with Tata Martino and Chris Henderson, we're going to get into the sound that was from that. We'll talk about that a little bit, get you ready for the weekend, and see if we can catch up with our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring. 10 o'clock, remember, Rob Smethurst, majority owner, Macclesfield FC. He's going to be visiting. We're going to talk about Macclesfield, a Phoenix club, what it was like to beat Crystal Palace, what the vibe has been like since, and what it means to have Macclesfield back in the pyramid, even though right now it's in the 6th tier. But when you get a big scalp like you do in the FA Cup, it's always great to catch up with all of them. So that's another rundown of what's happened here in the world of SDH AM. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being a part of the Twitch pitch. Thanks for your questions and your comments as we always go here Monday through Friday, starting at 9:05 Eastern and going until we're all talked out. Back at it again once more from the beach tomorrow before we fight Mother Nature and head back north and are back in Office HD again, kicking back again next week. It'll be good to be back home. It's great to be back. It's great to be here on the beach because that means the boss and I are celebrating another anniversary, our 13th. So it's been fun down here all week. It's been cold down here all week. So he's been spending a lot of time in the house. But great to stare at water for a week and great to come back, and it'll be great to see everybody. Yes, Abby is heading to Florida tomorrow. So packed for both cold and warm because we did that too. We ended up packing twice as much than we normally do just because of all the changes of condition and everything. And I think Saturday we're going to try and go to Oyster Fest. We'll see if the rowdy man has recovered enough from what happened a couple nights ago. And we'll see if he's going to be available to it or if we're going to keep him at home. And we'll see what happens. But once again, back in a little less than 22 hours to take you into a Freestyle Friday. Once again, Macclesfield FC joining us at 10 o'clock. We'll see if we can catch up with our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring and get the weekend ready for you as well. So for everybody here at SDH, thanks to Nino, thanks to Nico, thanks to y'all for being a part of SDH here as we are in our 10th season of SDH and SDH AM. Since it is the end of the show, that means one thing. I get to do this. Back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow morning on a Freestyle Friday. Play it safe, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.